ice is, I don't care what you have on ice.
Nope.
Four-wheel is gonna help you.
No. And they were out there, doing whatever they could, get it, like. It's, yeah, it's supposed to be like 2 hours. And he hears his kid.
You can't fix it?
Not that far.
I don't feel there's one here.
Go for it.
There's one on
We
this.
just.
One of them doesn't go up and down.
Just switch it with that one.
Yeah, that's the one that Brittany always wants to switch on. She doesn't like to be short.
Which I'm always short, but. The tables are just.
I heard Grant's a big bully,
A bully? Why? What?
punching kids,
Oh, I know.
giving black
I
eyes.
know. Yeah, his ear like kept hurting and because he hit him in the ear and he hit Carter in the eye and it hit Grant in the ear.
Oh no, I didn't hear that.
Yes, yeah. Did Carter just tell you he like hit him?
Well, Carter didn't want to tell. He was sick
Oh.
of telling the story by the time I got there,
Oh,
or by the time
I see. It was
he
just,
saw me.
it was so old news.
Yeah.
Such old news. Yeah, no, so,
Good to go, you got it for him.
Perfect.
okay.
Oh, I didn't get any sheets.
There's a couple ice fishers out by transfer station too. On that little-
What?
Yes.
Yeah, they said they were both the only one
He's over across the street.
up there.
Well,
Great.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
north of that.
Yeah. But yes,
So
All right, get a motion to call meeting to order?
I'll make the motion to call it to order.
I'll second the motion. All right, we're now in order. Do we have any additions or, I'm gonna approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with, making the adjustment to minutes. It says November 3rd, it should say December 1st.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second.
You're not even the last one at the end.
I know.
We talked about 2020 projects and kind of focused on the softball field quite a bit last meeting. I'm just wondering if we can, I just don't want the ball to get dropped on the softball field and have it kind of be, well, here we are, it's May and we don't have a plan in place. So I was just hoping we could maybe talk about that a little bit too.
We can do that, that's in softball.
And we've got
Is that
that
okay?
under old
Yeah.
business.
Okay,
Or old news, yeah.
Yep.
sounds good.
Awesome.
And then
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
And no visitors? All right, guidelines. Nothing to go over there. All right.
So just to approve the minutes.
Yeah, we
Did,
do a vote.
Yeah. All in favor.
Okay.
So we,
You gotta do your all in favor thing.
all in favor of accepting the minutes, approving them?
Aye.
Opposed? They have been approved. All right, reports. What do we have for reports?
No reports.
No reports, perfect. Let's move to old business. A, updates on assigned tasks. Let's see, we have here.
So Nate, you were gonna look into which soccer survey actually went out?
Yeah. I'm laughing because Brittany and I were trying to figure this out Friday afternoon. What item did we keep forgetting in the surveys? So, we can handle that under miscellaneous unfinished business.
Okay.
Um,
Or in soccer, I don't really care.
yeah, it's a whole survey, so.
Oh, okay.
I did look, it was the right stuff went out.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I have the whole survey results available.
Alrighty, and the park repair list. Right now, that's on a hold as there's like winter things going on, right?
As, I mean, we're one staff down as of Friday in the streets department. So we'll be adjusting there, I'm sure, but we'll hire that as quickly as we can. Our hope is that through the winter months, when we're not doing snow and ice removal and maintaining equipment, that we can get out to the park and take care of whatever, minor tasks we can.
Perfect. Alrighty, well that, let's see, the spreadsheet, or no, the specialist position, sorry.
Specialist position, we're just wrapping up the final, background checks and references for, position. I hope to be able to offer that early this week.
Perfect. Alright, discretionary budget?
So this is where we need to, continue discussion on how we're going to spend, the money that was set aside in the 2020 budget, as a discretionary item for the Parks Board to, sort of direct to the council how they would like that money spent. To this point, the discussion has really revolved around the softball field.
Oh.
And I'll just simply open it up for, discussion at this point in terms of, where the Park Board wants to, spend those dollars, and discuss what other options there might be if there are other priorities.
So how much is it again, Nate? How much is discretionary?
Although we could use that as well.
Is that
It was
We
like
could use a portion of that.
12,000 in the.
I wanna say it was 13.
like 13?
Let me check a moment.
So do we represent that 12,000 or 13,000, does that represent all park stuff? I mean, everything, not just baseball, softball, but
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
equipment,
Mhm.
anything
I
at
think,
parks?
I think this is the discretionary,
right, that's the,
right, the
yeah. The carryover, the.
extra,
Yeah, right,
whatever, right?
I believe so. That's what he was looking up.
yeah.
Like outside of fees and outside
Right.
of everything, this is the extra that we have.
I mean, I think if we can find out what the softball field would cost, you know,
That's gonna help us out greatly.
then we know what's left. You know, then if we have if the softball group gets together
12,000.
and the baseball group gets together and gives their input, we can bring all that back.
Yep.
And then obviously we have our spring walkthrough, right?
12,000.
12,000.
So I think amongst all those three, we'll have to eventually prioritize, but if we have input from the softball people, the baseball people, soccer people, in our walkthrough, and we know what the softball field, whatever we can get away with, then we'll know, right? Cause we have some money too in just the park and rec
Right,
fund,
right, this is just that.
yeah.
This is just what was
This is just
allocated,
their
not the two-
discretionary,
Right, yeah. And so I thought last time somebody was checking on how much it would possibly cost. Did I dream that?
Well, we're gonna try to get a hold of local, or, some of our local resources, we know any engineers, or Brittany, I think, she has some connections with,
At Southeast.
Yeah,
at
Southeast.
She was gonna,
and.
does anybody know whether she talked, I don't
I don't know.
remember,
I don't know if she's talked to them,
I don't remember her saying that she had talked to them, but.
and she didn't mention that prior when I last talked to her either.
I believe so. That's what I was thinking.
The other item that you have available to you, in the recreation fund, you have a fund balance of approximately, 21,000, I think, following last year. So you would certainly have some of that available as well, to use for facility improvements, or whatever, other projects you may have for the year. I would want to keep at least some in that fund balance, you should always have to carry some of that over. But I would bet that we could go down to 10,000 in that fund balance and not be too worried about everything.
And that's what's in the 201. So
It's too old.
Well, I think before we can even decide anything, we need to at least have a rough of what it's gonna cost for the field, because that's the main chess piece. So we'll just have to,
So the council was looking for what, just the, what they thought that 12,000 would go to?
The discretionary was set up so that the park board would be able to have something to put towards a project next year. So really what you'd be doing is recommending to the council, here is how we would like to use that money. And then we can go forward with projects from there.
does that have to be done like right away, or can we wait until we get how much it's gonna cost to fix softball? Like if we get like a low, medium, high on
a
softball,
ballpark anyway.
right?
I think if you were going to ask for a spring project, the sooner we do that, the better. So all these folks are starting to fill up pretty quickly. A lot of them have work from last year that they need to finish up.
Okay.
So the price we have from Stockwell was from a local earth mover with experience in this. But there are others that I think we could probably reach out to pretty
And that was 30-some thousand?
30, yeah.
Okay, 30, to fix this up, yeah.
Yeah, that's to do everything.
So we'd come short by like,
So,
yeah.
I just think it's hard to spend $30,000 when we spend about, 2,000 on the other field. Until we have kind of a comprehensive plan of what that whole area looks like, that middle area, still kind of messy,
Right.
and it'd be better to figure out a way to kind of do something to get it by 4 or 5 years or whatever, until the whole plan.
Wasn't the problem the city's road there doesn't have drainage anyway?
Right.
So we're just gonna wait till that's in?
Drainage is gonna be the major issue there.
Yeah.
How you still get
We
away
can't,
if someone
can't
comes
take
in
it
and
to, can't take it to Park Drive, it'll go down.
Right. Isn't that a main issue?
Yeah.
Where you gonna go?
And the
If you put
30,000
in,
is,
where you gonna go?
Right.
The road haven't-
You gotta create a mess and you'll essentially just create a mess between the two fields.
like the 30,000 doesn't cover running it clear to 44,
I
right?
don't think so, no.
Okay.
Which ones are really only viable options?
Yeah, that's the
Right.
main viable
Yeah,
right
that's
now.
something to like,
It's an option that we looked at.
Right.
So is that 30,000 all new fence, dugouts, everything?
No. I'll see if I can pull up.
It's just grading,
I
though.
guarantee
yeah,
it's
it's
just
just
Isn't that
grading.
dirt work?
And
Isn't
it's
it just
probably
straight
I think that's
at least 10,000 short of what it would actually, you know what I mean? They say 30 and then it ends up being,
When you have a project like that, you can bet on change orders making approximately 10%.
right.
so is there something different that we can do and start putting a fund together, that we can add to over the next couple of years for a big project in the future?
Spillway.
yeah.
So here's the breakdown of,
Water feature.
mobilization 1,000, excavation 5,000, reshaping the subgrade 3,000. The agri line is the biggest piece of this, so furnish, install, and grade, so that doesn't take into account, reclaiming some of the current agri line there. That came to 18,000, and miscellaneous, work for 3,000.
Agri line's 18,000.
Yep.
But there's something else, that was grading too, right?
It was great, it was pulling it off, it was grading it, it was adding new.
Right, that's probably where a lot of it.
They're figuring, 250 tons of agri line. A couple of years ago, when he last priced it, that was $50 per ton, to get it here. That comes from somewhere in Minnesota, I believe.
So it's not even removing the pole from center.
Here's the,
Yeah.
Can't chainsaw.
mean, you just need to change how to get through the tires.
Those tires are hard.
Those tires are hard.
In terms of safety, that would be where I would put
Yeah.
my money.
There was a gentleman that ran into it about 4 years ago.
There's been some close calls every year. Some ricochets.
Obviously, that pole doesn't affect the kids when they play, but,
I think it's a really good way to get somebody hurt.
yeah.
You know, I guess that we talked about it a little bit when you were in there, but, you know, my thoughts would be that we have to get further down the road to what the softball field's gonna cost and try to use some resources that we have to do it and figure out what that cost is gonna be. And that's where the majority, I'm assuming, of that 12,000 would go. And then if we get some input from the baseball group, the softball group, the soccer group, and then we have our walkthrough in the spring, then we kind of have input from the community, and then couldn't we, I mean, the softball field, and then we know also what the softball field's gonna cost and what we have left. Or we should know by spring what the softball field budget-wise is gonna cost.
Is there a desire to get more input from the community in terms of what they'd like to see there?
I know, and it's not always even necessarily facilities as much as it is the program, you know, so in our baseball committee meetings that we've had in the past, they wanted a lot of input on things they thought we should do, you know, whether it be some equipment, whether it be facilities, whether it be camps, whether it be, you know, whatever. You know, it's just nice to include them in the conversation, not necessarily say, okay, hey, but, you know, what would you like to see from the baseball side of the program to advance it, you know, and get their input. And I'm sure the softball field people talked about it too in the past.
One thing we can do, I mean, survey monkey's pretty easy, we can just open up a very broad survey for the community and say, this is the money that's available, where would you wanna put it?
Yeah, cause I mean, we really do, I mean, we focus a lot on the rec side, but there is the park side too, and we have to think about like the people with, you know, little kids maybe that are just moving in here, or older people, I don't know, I mean, just some of these other,
But the other thing,
Amenities.
all that 20,000 has all come from
yeah,
the baseball, softball,
Right,
whatever
it's come
program.
from-
It's all
It hasn't-
from concessions.
No, there's our fees, you know,
Concessions did have
well, and those guys all work those concessions, you know, as part of the thing. And then fees, the tournaments,
yeah,
you know, gate fees, all that kind of stuff. There's been a lot of money that's come through there, but it's not all just concessions. Cause
Yeah.
there's certain concessions, we didn't make any money a couple years ago.
I wanna caution though, that we don't look at that fund as, well, these people pay it, so that's who should benefit from it. It is a community fund, it is a fund of the community, regardless of who pays it.
Well, I mean, that's maybe how everybody's looking at it now, or how maybe you guys wanna look at it, but that's not how it was set up, or how it was come about.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it shouldn't be, but I'm just saying in the past, that's why it's a 201 fund rather than going back into the general fund. It's because all the people that have put into it, you know, whether it be donating or their time and all this stuff, or the fees, or all that kind of stuff, it's supposed to go back into the program. You know, it's not a community fund program, at least it hasn't been. You know, I'm not opposed to it being,
Yeah.
but it's just that it hasn't been, you know, that.
well, I'm just saying maybe like the 12,000.
12,000 completely
The
different.
12,000 is
That's
maybe,
completely
maybe
different.
something that we could look at, you know, the park improvements, like our walkthrough stuff,
Yeah.
right? Buying a basketball hoop, something along those lines, right?
Yep.
But like, you know, I agree that I think the 201 is a lot of, parents have paid the fees, and so they're looking for improvements to the program.
Well, there's just a lot of tournaments, and a lot of different things.
Yeah,
and
overtime.
A lot of extra
overtime,
stuff that they've
concessions,
done to
yeah.
earn that, they're supposed to go back. Now, once again, we're fine with, hey, let's spend it from now on, it's a community fund. I mean, I think everybody would be fine with that too, but that's not, you know, in the past, that wasn't how it was started. That wasn't what was told to everybody, you know, and that wasn't
So,
But the 12,000,
And the only thing I would say is that the city can't be a conduit for benefiting certain groups of people over others. That's the point I'm trying to make with the recreation fund. The biggest and highest use is what we always have to look at with whatever dollar we're spending. So what is the highest impact it can have for the highest number of people, across the community?
And that's where it'd be nice with this softball, if we could see, you know, what could we get for 5,000, what kind of improvements, could we remove the pole, could we do some,
I mean,
Dug out
even
stuff, like
if
what
you
could
just
we do?
extended the infield, you know, took out that huge mound, I mean, that's a hazard in itself, right there, right behind the infield, I mean, it's, you had 6-8 inches of aggregate built up there from all those years, you can't even step back the field to pop fly without rolling an ankle, so I mean, just the safety things like that, I think would be the,
right?
if you're gonna
if we
do
could-
something.
Right, if we could just look at that and go, okay, well, we can do 5,000, we know that there's, you know, water issues that probably are not going to be resolved, that would make sense to do the whole 30,000, right? So what could we do right now to make improvements, to make it better for that field and for the people? Because there's quite a few people that are impacted, you know, by that. And then what could we do with the remaining funds, you know, whether it be baseball or soccer, or whether it's not rec at all, you know, and it's parks overall.
Working on that park over there where the old skating rink was and doing something with that.
Right, something like that. Mhm.
I mean, I think when we do our spring walkthrough, we come up with a nice list.
Mhm.
And then some of that, you know, is spread across the whole thing that we go through. And it's not always that expensive, but that
No.
list, we could use that money and then whatever labor we need to
Right.
get a lot of
To
that
get,
list.
to get that done, because every year, that gets pushed off. And so every
Yeah.
year, our parks are getting more and more behind, you know,
Yeah.
just in general. And to attract people to the community, they're gonna, you know, drive past those parks and see them. Particularly the big one on Main Street, maybe not so much on the west side unless there's houses for sale over there, but, you know,
There's lots of stuff, the fence, there's landscaping.
Yeah.
You know, a water fountain down there would be nice,
mhm.
which we've got it pre-piped at the other building, just don't have the money to
Well,
spend.
I just asked for a bathroom, like just during the summer months, because a lot of people have said, like even a porta potty down there, cause people, when like
Oh, you're
my
talking
little
about
group tried to do stuff down there, right? People would say, hey, if we could have a porta potty down here, that would be great, because there's no place to take my kid to the bathroom. So we come down here, they like to play, and then like, of course, it's a little kid, so 10
Right.
minutes later, they're like, I have to go to the bathroom, and then they're like,
And they can't wait.
And they can't wait.
When they tell you it's go time.
right, it's go time, so, you know, we could do things like that, where you spend the money for a restroom there, or at the T-ball fields usually have that, you know, they have a porta potty.
Yep.
So, just little things like that, that like would make it more accessible for people.
Would the, access to the bathrooms at the new pool facility, is that, or to get into the bathrooms, do you have to pay to get in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
But we
Yeah,
also,
not past the gate.
I'm talking about.
Gotta pay the toll.
I'm talking about the West Side Park, there is no bathroom there.
West Evergreen.
West
Oh,
Evergreen,
the
there
west
is-
side one.
yeah,
Yeah, there's
no
nothing
bathroom.
over, oh, no, no,
So that's
okay.
why I was saying
Yeah.
having a porta potty
Yeah.
there, if people wanted to.
Oh, yeah,
put
there's
it
nothing
there.
over there.
There's nothing over there, so, and, you know, maybe if you have something there, that would be, it would not be, there's just some little things like that.
Yep.
Depends on the year.
Or something along the walking path,
Yeah,
I don't
Scantling
know.
Park is here.
You know, a lot of people use that as well.
There's gas stations along that, though, I mean, it's not, I guess going the other way, there's not.
Oh, I'm not talking about like putting porta potties, I'm just like, you know, that was a really nice thing to put in the benches. I think
Yeah.
people really liked that, and that
Yeah.
looks really nice, and just different things like that, that we could go, okay, what would, you know, and maybe a survey out to the community would be a good idea, just to
Yeah.
solicit, you know, feedback from newer members to the community, or people that have been here a long time. I don't know.
Very good stuff we don't think about.
Yeah, Cause I mean, we just tend to kind of think about the same stuff, and maybe these other people would have ideas for us.
Out of the box,
Right, out of the box. How hard would that be, Nate, to put that together?
A survey,
Mm-hmm.
you can do it tonight. It all depends on how detailed you wanna get with the question.
not very detailed.
Not very detailed.
'Cause then you run.
It
What do
could
you wanna
be-
see
it
fixed
could be
in-
as simple
in
as
3 words or
one
less?
question.
Yeah,
You know, where would you prefer to spend, you know, the Parks Board has been granted $12,000 discretionary dollars in next year's budget, where would you like to see that money spent?
Yep.
we could do that. My only fear about it a little bit is that the community has been asked before about stuff and then the city doesn't do it. And my fear is if we would get, you know, not that I'm against a survey, I'm
Yeah.
just like, you gotta be cautionary with that survey because people then really do feel like they have a voice. And maybe, you know, if we come back and we do find out that the softball stuff is doable, you know, and we wanna move forward with all 12,000, then, you know, they might feel like they didn't have that voice, but could
Sure.
we wait,
Well, and to me,
you know?
the softball field almost seems like a project that would be like a,
It's gonna be
Almost like-
multi-phase.
well, even like the
Yeah.
concession stand. The concession stand was a joint
Yeah.
fee concession fund / city thing.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we would, you know, and like I said, I don't wanna say about the community fund, but, you know, the 20,000, but the issue I have with it is I fought a lot of people off to get that money in there because so many of them that had tournaments and different things wanted all the money just to go to their team and that team. And they're like, hey, we're hosting this tournament, we're doing this, why should the city get any of it? Hey, we're the 12-year-olds, we're holding the park,
Right.
this thing, our coaches are doing all this, all our things are doing this,
Right.
why should it go to this? And I fought for a long time to say, hey, this isn't just you, right? The city provides a field, this and that, this goes back into the program. And all this stuff when they came after, they, well, how come we're the only ones that donate time and do this? How come it's not going to our kids? No, you can't, we don't blame people for being
Right.
about them and their team,
Right.
but I've just fought a lot of people off,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that have given to that, saying that it's gonna go back in the program, whether it be softball or baseball, right? Doesn't matter, so that's where, but once again, that can change going forward, in my opinion, I just don't wanna change it going backwards to where all of a sudden they, you know, putting in a park bench, you know, with that.
Right.
We can figure out exactly where that needs to go, but that 12,000 has nothing to do with,
Right, yeah,
the group.
that's what I.
And that's
what I was-
completely
that's what I was-
community.
You know, on the concession stand too, I would point out that part of the reason we have that 21,000 in the fund in 201 in the recreation fund is because a lot of the concession stand costs we ended up putting towards general fund, coming out of the general fund instead.
We split it 50-50 until we got to 40 grand, and then it went over. And it was 50-50, because I kept that balance sheet, it was 50-50 all the way till it was 40 grand, and then we were short about 10 to 12. And then we put some to the 201 and some to the general, and I do think that some more went to the general than the 201. I think the city did kick in a little extra, it wasn't quite 50-50 after that, but that's what the project was there for and pitched to the council at the time, you know, so, and once again, I don't care if this whole thing switches, it's just that, you know, I wouldn't say fought, but I had to convince a lot of people along the way that this isn't, you're not doing this just to go into La La Land, because they're like, well, what, our team needs money, we're traveling for baseball, we need this, we need that, we need bats, and I'm like, no, this is a whole program thing, you know, it's not and once again, maybe I should have been saying it's a whole city thing, actually, you know, maybe my fault, I should have been saying, hey, this is a city thing for our parks and for everything, but, you know, but what if we take the you know, but then again, let's say that 10,000 of that 20,000 goes to the softball field, right? And then that other 12 gets opened up to anything, what's it matter? You know, that's part of the program, the softball
Right.
field, and everybody, they all want it on the field their kids playing on, right? But that's not the point, right? It's all back into the whole program, but, you know, once again, that's maybe just been, Nate, it's just maybe been preached or, you know, and you can ask all the council members, because that's kind of where they were here too. And you just don't wanna, I like the way we're approaching it now, more than me, you, that sort of stuff than it was done in the past. But, you know, the money that's there kinda needs to, and then we need to preach it different. We need to explain it different or do whatever. But if we figure out what the softball field is, then we're gonna know,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, I think
if
that's
we
our
can pull
first.
some stuff together, and I'm talking not necessarily going out to other contractors and doing this, cause every single one of them is gonna be expensive. We need to figure out somebody who can do the shooting of it, you know what I mean? A little bit of help with the design and the, you know, shooting of the,
Putting a better,
I don't know how you call it, transit or whatever they call it or whatever.
And I
that's
think
what-
Brittany was working on that, and gonna talk to the people from
That's what the tech,
Southeast, and I
yeah.
think that's, so maybe, you know, maybe we can reach out to her after.
Well, and if we're gonna offer the person the job next week, the specialist, maybe we could kind of put that at the top of the priority list of, maybe you can start working on this first, cause, you know, we want a plan in place, so we know what to do with that. I don't know exactly what their orientation process is gonna be, I don't know, but maybe making some phone calls to some companies locally and figuring out where we can put the money.
Who did
That's-
And I
the
think,
Yeah.
The middle field, we did it as combination of the city. You know, so we have a transit in the city and we had people that, they scraped it off. I mean, I'm out there and helped a little bit, talk about whatever, but then they scraped it off, they just shot it with our transit, put those little things in there with whatever, they backfilled it with clay we had, put the egg line back on it, put some extra on it, and that's all that's been done to it.
What
You
kind of
know,
machinery did they use to
It's just
scrape it off?
just
It's
the
skid
skid loader.
That's
That's
all,
it.
yeah. I mean.
And the drag, when they
Yeah.
got the final drag or whatever, you know, and you set the bases, but it was a very inexpensive process. Now, we might not have the city to do that, you know, that might not be something they can do, but, you know, we can probably get, there's other people with skid steers, you know, that can do that, so, I mean, obviously, we gotta get it okayed with the city, but we're talking a couple thousand, a 3,000, a 4,000 thing versus a
Right.
30.
Yeah.
Right.
Then the community's gonna get a heck of a lot more
Right,
out of
more stuff.
everything that we spend, and
Right.
But they'll see it too, they'll see
They'll
that
see
something's
that,
actually
yeah.
being done on that field,
On that field.
you know, and then that'll help too, because I mean, that's the one thing you hear, is this hasn't been touched since, I played here back when I was in high school in the eighties, and this field hasn't been touched since then.
So the infield needs to go back about 15 feet, and it
Yes.
just needs to be level.
15, that's quite a bit.
And we need a
I
pole.
mean, it's 5.
And the
It's
poles.
short.
It's 5
Yeah, I
feet.
think that's
So
a priority
put it
too.
to 20,
Yeah,
maybe 15 total.
if it wanna be like Chancellor, that'd be about, because the Chancellor field, and that's about, would be about the same distance,
Bubble wrap.
big infields.
I mean, the other thing is, we get all these registrations in, probably start of February or whatever. That gives us a lot of email addresses to put out there, hey, we really need somebody to help us do, if we can't find somebody through Southeast or some people we know or whatever, we really need somebody to volunteer to help that has, you know, some landscape management or some, whatever the deal is. We could call a few people, even like Keller Brothers, who are kind of in town, I mean, they're worthy, right? And see if there's something we
I
can
think
do.
they're in Harrisburg now.
There, yeah, I saw their building being put up there, but it's possible that maybe they would come in and do something, but there's gotta be a way to do it without having a whole, just because of the money, right? If we had no, I mean, we just, nobody's complained about the little field, right? We did it 2 years ago,
Yeah, no, it's been,
and nobody's complained about that middle field. You know, it's not perfect either, it's
No.
still puddles and spurting spots and
oh,
whatever
yeah, we're
else.
in South Dakota.
Yeah, and I
I don't know if $30,000 or.
I don't think you would need all that in there, but it's just, you know, you just gotta get away from the, in front of the home field dugout. When it rains, you just can't walk because you sink 3 inches, cause all the water runs right there. So if you could somehow mitigate it, at least move it to the outfield, you know, in somewhere.
Well, and we've, you know, we got a group to drain tile the big field. You know, there was 8 to 10 of us out there, and we put all the drain field, you know.
Cause most kids' games don't use much of the outfield anyways. You know, you just be dealing with the church league. you know, and then some in the high school when they're using it. Otherwise, you can get a lot of use out of the field if you keep the initial, you know, first 20 yards of the outfield, you know, if you could somehow, you know, tile it back.
Well, I plan on having the baseball committee meeting in January here, and then we're getting started. If you guys, we've talked, maybe some of those guys have some resources or whatever. It just doesn't seem like a community this size that we can't get people to
Right.
join together and figure out a way to get it done for.
Well, and the nice thing is baseball uses it and softball uses it, you know, I mean, so that's on both of those two fields right there. There's a
Well-
softball tournament, they both use it, baseball tournament, they
I
both
mean,
use
I
it.
personally had 4 or 5 people who tell me over the years that, hey, I'll do it myself.
Yeah.
I just want this better, you
Right.
know? So I
Right.
just don't think it'd be too hard to
Right.
get some volunteers down there to do it.
Better bang for our buck.
Yeah. and
So
just-
we could, so thinking about the money again, so if we thought about like using some of the 201 fund then for the for the softball field.
Yep.
And then we'd have the 12,000 that we could use maybe for, we could tell the city guys that we wanna use that more for,
Park stuff.
park stuff.
Well,
park
you're collectively
improvements.
across, like you
Right.
said, the
Yeah.
biggest bang for your buck for the
Right,
community
the
or
park,
whatever it is.
park
Yeah.
improvements that we could use, maybe not necessarily through the rec programs or
Right.
whatever. But if we wanna use that 21K for more so the rec programs that funded into that, and the 12,000 then for
Right.
the
I just think
park.
everybody's in agreement that the softball field needs work.
Yeah.
So we just gotta focus on finding a way to get that done for a reasonable amount of money. And then we'll know what we have left. And then whatever we have left, there's probably, I mean, there's always priorities, but that's the number one priority of everything.
Right, so we can reach out to Brittany and see what she's heard, and then if she hasn't heard anything,
No, then we-
or
then
had a
we can reach
chance,
out
then
to
we
some
need
other
to
people.
start reaching out.
Yep.
Because to Nate's point, we're gonna run out of,
Yep.
people. So then, for the 12,000, do we wanna tell him that he could go back to the city and say, hey, the 12,000, we'll try to look at, you know, how best to improve our overall park program?
Yeah.
And then
And I
we
think we
can
just need-
concentrate on the
We
21,000
need the
using
money,
the other
we
stuff.
can't go below 10 in that other fund either.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
That is our,
You can.
give or take,
Yeah.
you know, it can't really, we gotta keep something in there because
Right.
even with this new position and all this is something we haven't done in the past.
Yep, yep,
So it makes a lot more money if we're not doing that.
right,
So-
yeah.
So either way, if we just get the
Mhm.
softball figured out, then we'll,
Then we
Right.
can,
then
then
we
we can
can,
progress.
because I think regardless if it's the city, the council, all of us here, the baseball program, the softball program, I don't think anybody doesn't think that that's really close to top, if, you know what I mean? I mean, I'm sure if you talk to people on the big field, they'd wanna do something else, and people in the middle field, but they all know, they've all played on that, they've been through that, and they know
Mhm.
that that field needs,
Yep.
you know, the work, you know,
So that'd be our top priority, and then.
would be our top priority, and then we just gotta
Go from
figure out
there.
how much that's gonna cost.
Brittany
Okay.
said the instructor hasn't got back to her yet.
Okay. And maybe with, you know, holiday
She's
stuff,
got
maybe
breaks
like
as well too, so.
yeah, so that's probably why, but hopefully she'll be able to get something. Okay,
Alright, so we'll, with the discretionary, once we figure out more with what's going where, we'll readjust it. So next meeting, hopefully we have more answers.
and then we could maybe send out that survey if we
And
know
then
how
after
much
that,
money we have, or, you know, if we don't have ideas, we can send that out.
Perfect. Alright,
Okay,
unfinished business. Was there any?
Nate was gonna talk about the survey.
Yeah, we can do the surveys,
Yep.
but if, everybody wants to take a look at that. Anybody see a TV remote?
Right there.
I don't know, go on.
Okay.
Ta-da. Okay,
Well, look at all those T-ball kids,
lots of T-ball kids.
just coming up the ladder.
So this is just a breakdown of, come on. Which team they played, did everybody see that okay? Okay. Which team they played on, majority of them, were T-ball. I would also say baseball and softball make up a big portion of that, but because they're broken out by age group, it just doesn't, show up that way, so. Got good representation from, I would say, everything but, probably 11, 12 softball. That we just did not get very many responses.
There was only one team.
There was only one team, so.
So we only got 2 responses, 1 response from 11, 12 softball, 2 responses from spring soccer. The rest of them were okay. We have the coaches' names on there, so we could follow up if we needed to, on anything there. This looks worse than it is. The reason for that is because we switched it around. So if you have a 1-star, we switched it around in the middle of the survey, so a 1-star was very satisfied. I think in future years we'll obviously shift that. We can probably change it now again. So a 2 rating is actually a somewhat satisfied rating. It's better than neutral. It's pretty good. Lots of, and I'll email this all out too, but lots of narrative responses.
You
by-
did send it out. You
by-
already sent it out.
I did,
Yeah.
okay. So by and large, very positive. A few tweaks here and there I think that we can make, but you know, for the most part, when you're looking at this stuff, you're looking at volunteer coaches, you know, until we get people with significant experience in some of these areas, you get what you get. You get what you pay for essentially. You know, we don't expect professional coaching in this level. So certainly, you know, what they like about the program, the word cloud of this one here, playing, friends, learning. I mean, that's the stuff that really rises to the top. There's a bunch of other stuff in there. Obviously, there were 53 different responses, but these 15 showed up the most. What was liked least? Games. So, that doesn't necessarily mean that the games were bad. That's just that word shows up more often than
It
anything
probably
else.
rained out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably the rainouts. Yeah.
Right.
It says canceled.
Canceled games
Right.
do show up there.
And that was a problem for everybody.
Yeah, that was a bad year.
Was your child able to improve in their skills? We'll have to change this question next year because it said baseball, softball. But by and large, yes, they did improve.
There were some kids who were really good, didn't need to improve, it looked like.
Do you feel your coach had satisfactory knowledge? We only had 1 response that said no. So they had Sean.
Technically, it wasn't a coach.
Yeah. He's a floater.
Right. Do you feel the coach was very respectful to your child? We did have 5 no's on this one. So next year I may ask for a little bit more information there on what kind of feedback would be most valuable for those coaches.
Was it a yes or no answer, or did they get a chance to give?
There was no
No detail.
no
Option for narrative?
please
Okay.
explain your answer. Would you recommend it? All but 5 said yes. Again, I think we can get more information there. We just have to ask for it. Suggestions for improving in the future. These are the words that pop up. Again, this is just the most frequently mentioned words. It's not necessarily supposed to be the guidance and feedback pulled together all in one. Canceled comes up, the season, practices, fields, games. A lot of good feedback in there though, just, we don't have
That'll
to
go.
pull it all together. Are you willing to serve as a coach for next year's program? Unfortunately, only 11 coaches said, or 11 respondents said yes.
And those are-
I'm guessing the 5 no's before are still no's here.
I can actually verify that and I'll check. But we did have contact information shared for those that were willing, so we'll be able to share that too.
Did we have any feedback, sort of write-in stuff in that? Was it all yes, no,
On
on the survey?
willing to share or willing to serve as a coach, volunteer?
No,
Most of it
I-
was yes, no.
I'm just
When you
thinking
go-
about, you know, when they said they weren't satisfied or this or that, or didn't learn, they usually put some sort of information.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, there was-
Right, yeah, what's this right here?
suggestions for, further improving,
Yeah,
indoor option, don't mix second grade boys with kindergarten girls.
That was for soccer.
No. New parking, I would bet that that was for soccer, given the time frame and the lack of parking. Not be a coach pitch tournament at the end of the season, that makes 0 cents, I really don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I have no idea about that either. That was the APU, one of the parents thought the tournament should have been player pitch instead of coach pitch.
Field maintenance by the city of Lennox needs to improve, don't collect fees and advertise you have a program when you don't maintain the fields or games for practice. I really don't know what to say about that.
It's probably just
it's
because all
the
the
rain
rain
outs thing that we have to resolve that this year, 'cause that's the number one thing that they always complain about, at least that I hear anyway.
I went to church this morning, I prayed for no rain
Yeah.
this summer. That is the extent of control I have over the matter. Coordinate park bathrooms being open during practices and games, that's something that we actually talked about at the end of the summer,
Yeah.
with the parks crew, that we just have to make sure we're keeping those things open. Needs to be higher priority for field maintenance, that was about canceled games again. Field recover. More clinics or day camps, that was an interesting one.
Well, we've run a couple in the past, but we don't have the money, you know, to necessarily pay
Pay to bring
somebody to
somebody
do
to
that,
Well,
so.
for soccer, we charge them to
Yeah.
do it.
Well, we charged a little bit, we did in baseball too, but
I mean, we're charging the full.
it's also finding the time.
Because they, you know, to get them to
And
come.
the different color jerseys, that kinda comes from, I think, T-ball and AU, because it's so hard to get, you know, they come in late, and you don't wanna tell a T-ball they can't play. Well, if you get 8 yellow jerseys and 8 whatever, then all of a sudden somebody comes to the team, you don't have a jersey for them.
It's mostly a T-ball thing.
It's the jersey's a T-ball and an AU thing, because we used to try to get them all different colors, but then when people came in late or quit or this and that, we didn't have jerseys for them, because we didn't have the right color, or the wrong size. So if somebody put their mom size down there instead of their kids, and then they got the jersey that was ordered directly, because they get to keep those, and then what ends up happening is now they don't have a jersey. So what we ended up doing is just going one, so we could cover the latecomers, the different sizes, the whatever.
Oh, I did T-ball, I'm not so sure.
Well, that's the thing,
You're in good shape if you're getting them to run to first base.
Yes, well, that's always been our thing, was like, hey, come on,
Yeah.
you know, but they don't like when they're all out there in the same jersey, but the reason we tried it the other way is just, and maybe this other person has more. you
It
know,
could have been for soccer too.
And baseball was that way too. The 11, 12-year-old baseball, was there 4 or 5 different teams? And so they're playing each other, and so you're looking out on the field and you see nothing but black and orange jerseys.
Well, and that's because those guys get expensive jerseys,
Yeah, they do.
you know, and then to have them different colors, you never know who's gonna be playing, how many teams, you know, we go from 4 teams to 3 teams to
Yeah.
2 teams to 4 teams, and it's super hard to, you know, it's not an easy way out of, you know, and here's the thing, if they would get to know baseball just a little bit, you know, the ones up to plate, right, you know that's not on that team and everybody else is out here. T-ball's a little different, right, 'cause it's a mass, it's just a thing, you know, it's a mass collection.
Kids running up third base when they hit a base hit.
Right.
Field conditions, better maintenance there, fill low spots, I think that one is, I could check back, but maybe just talking about, softball field. This one was just in terms of the choices on the survey, we need to offer, select more than one. More fields. Age groups should not group together, 13, 14 should be separate. We need to step it up on having fields ready to play on and not blame it on the weather when it rains. Not quite sure how to take that one.
So the 13, 14, a lot of that is not our age group we set up, that's.
No, it's in baseball.
That's for
So that'd be a baseball. Okay.
Yeah, what they wanna do is they want to, and I understand it, they wanna play, all the 13-year-olds wanna play together, all the 14-year-olds wanna play together. but we don't always get even numbers.
Right,
Right.
So,
right.
but what those parents would still wanna do is, okay, take these 10 or 11, 13-year-olds and then put the 3 or 4 of them on the other team, or vice versa.
Yep.
The ones that they feel aren't
Yeah.
good enough
So
or
it's
whatever.
a select a team thing.
Yes, if the numbers come in even, we do give the coaches options to either be 13 and 14. You know, they have the option, the coaches do. If it comes in somewhat even,
Yeah.
we give it to the coaches and say, what do you wanna do here? And we have done 13 and we have done 14.
Okay.
But if it doesn't end up fair, you're not gonna put
Right.
17 on one team and 8 on the other.
Right.
And we're not gonna individualize 2 or 3 kids
Yeah.
and say, you're gonna go play without your friends, but everybody else is. So it's a numbers thing, and they've done that all the way down to where you guys are dealing with softball, the younger ages,
Yep.
all the way through our baseball. It's always a numbers thing, and you can't, it just doesn't work without alienating people or kids.
Well, you can't make everybody happy.
No.
But yeah, you sent these out a long time ago. I mean, we should be able to look through them.
T-balls run well, 4 games. Bullying. That's something we probably need to,
Have a thing for all the coaches to go through
just
something.
to be aware of other issues that may be there. Worthing apparently has water, fields that absorb water better than Lennox. What do you know about that?
Yeah.
Well, what's happened is a lot of kids now play over here. Not that we tried to do that, we tried to make sure Worthing always had their own, but just through whatever reason, a lot of them come over here now, especially when they get older.
Yeah.
But then their fields sit unused.
Yeah.
So we had some things with them in the past to say, hey, we can use it, but then it got down to like almost an insurance thing and a certain thing, and then it kinda-
Linda's gone now.
Okay.
Well, we got them the insurance information
Is that-
last year, and it worked out. There's a couple softball teams that practice over there.
Yeah, it's they want their fields to be used, and we should take advantage of their fields more as well as Chancellor, you know, to community kind of,
I think.
Chancellor's pretty full.
got a lot of girls over
Yeah.
there.
Half of our softball coaches are from Worthing.
Yeah.
They use it.
No, there's a lot more there. I mean, there's a lot of, comments here. The age thing does come up a few times. Equal and fair play time comes up. More games, spread the season out better. I think that's always a tough one too. You know, when I think the first baseball game we had this year for high school ball, there was still snow in the outfield. You know, and even that was pushing it. That was after, 2 weeks after, I think, the game was scheduled to be, so.
Well, you know,
Those fields start to get used pretty early in the season. It's just hard to predict when you're gonna see playable conditions.
Yeah, every year is different.
most of the age thing too, just so that the city knows, it always comes down to, the parents either want their kid to play with their best buddy, regardless of age or gender. They want them to play with what they think are the best players, or
What does the
Certain-
kid want?
what?
What does the kid want?
Well, they don't care about
That's
that.
not- Yeah, they don't.
That doesn't matter.
So,
Batted around the idea this year of saying, you know what? Forget what the parents think.
well, that's
Let's
why.
ask the kids what they think. This is their program.
Right, but that's why we've done it like this, because we're not gonna single out a kid, you know what I mean? And say, okay, you're gonna play over here, you're not gonna, we divide them up evenly, or, you know, they've got a way to do it from birthdays, but we divide them up evenly in a coach's meeting, and everybody has a place to play, and everybody's on the thing. And a lot of them don't like that, because, not gonna say a lot, some, right? They either want them to play with some sort of select group, or they wanna play with their friend, but once again, we say, well, what's wrong with meeting some new friends, you know what I mean? And stuff like that, so the age thing comes up a lot, and we've battled it in this group for years, but it's mostly because, but we're not gonna have a kid not have a place to play, or single a kid out. And so you can't get your way, I mean, a certain year you could, right, okay, our numbers come in 12 10-year-olds and 12 13-year-olds,
Great.
perfect.
Yeah.
But if it comes in 16 and 7, are you gonna just take 2 of those or 3 of those from that are over here and move them over here? What's 3? You know, why is that fair? Why don't they get to play with it? You know what I mean? So you just can't do it with our numbers, and we divide them up evenly. And I said it comes up, and it'll probably always come up, but they never have an answer when you say, well, what happens when our numbers are off? They say, well, some will say they can't play. You know, you're, whoa, wait a second here. You know, this is, you know what I mean? It's crazy what sometimes you'll get for an answer, but that's the age thing that comes up usually, is because that's what they want. And I understand sometimes girls are a little tougher, and these guys have done a good job of handling that, because I was going crazy. But they really have friends that they're really best buddies with, and they won't play. They're like, I don't even want to play this summer if I can't play with my friend on the team.
Oh, that happens.
And
Well, that's a decision that's
Their
their
choice.
entitled to make.
right. And it's kind of it's a weird dynamic, I guess.
Or my dad's gonna start his own team. All right, see ya.
Great.
Right.
Have fun.
Here's a facility use agreement.
All right, let's close out unfinished business then. And Brittany's not here for the website. Does anybody else have website?
Oh, turn on.
Thank you. No, I don't have anything new there either.
Okay. Soccer program, what do we have? Anything new?
So we have lined up to do that camp with Dakota Alliance. I think it'll be August 4th through the 6th. We did talk to them about having different fees a little bit for that, trying to do it a little bit cheaper. Last year it was $50, and this year I asked whether they could do it for $40. So we'll see. They haven't come back yet, and so the only thing on that would be if we can use the old football field, hopefully for
Yep.
that. But Yep.
Would they be willing to reduce the fee if we guarantee a certain number?
no, he didn't sound like it
Is that
last
not
year.
how
He
they
was,
do it?
yeah,
Okay.
that wasn't quite how they did it, but he was, like last year when we met with him, he was pretty stuck on a fee. And this year he asked, hey, what would happen if we lowered the fee? So I'm like, okay, well, yeah, lower
Awesome.
the fee. I mean, if you want.
You got it.
Like, if you can lower the fee, lower the fee. I mean,
Right.
you know, so, and then we did talk to, I did talk to Brittany, because I think, we can start spring soccer, late enough that we can, actually open and close, the programs all at the same time. The baseball, softball, and soccer, all at the same time, so that'll make it.
So one, yeah.
Unfortunately, she had already set it up separate, but then I said, oh, you can do it at the same time. So she went back through and did it. So anyhow, that should be able to be done at the same time. We'll start spring soccer the middle of April, the week after Easter, I believe.
Perfect.
That's it.
All right, Miss Brittany, the only one with pool project?
I can do a little bit there. I was down there a couple weeks ago. Mid-America, or not Mid-America, Excel has to run a new three-phase power line out there, so I was talking with Mike out there and taking a look at what we were doing there. They were putting up the fence that day, the black fence. I think that's all wrapped up now. They've done a few touches here and there on the outside, put a couple extra pieces onto the diving boards. Most of the work at this point is taking place inside the bathhouse. So the cabinets were in there. Last time I was in there, the concrete bench, table, counter. The concrete counter had been poured. They had some final finishing to do on that yet. The inside looks really good, so. Well on its way. We're still planning on an early May test still, and then I think it's May 20 for a tentative open date, so.
And one of the things I did talk to Brittany earlier this week, is that, the pool passes ended up to be $100 instead of I think we had recommended like the 125 or something, but then she said the city council, Brittany had done some research and then suggested the 100, so we went with 100
Yeah,
instead of.
yeah, so.
Just wanted to reflect that in the
Okay.
meeting minutes so that we knew where that ended up coming from, and she
Yeah,
was gonna talk about it here, she's not here, so.
We got a couple negative comments on Facebook, nothing serious.
Yeah,
About the
I think that appeared to be about why we didn't charge folks from outside of Lennox more.
Mm.
That's strictly a business decision. I don't know of any business that would charge non-residents more, you know, if I'm going to Dollar General and they ask if I live in town or not, to find out what I'm gonna pay. That's a fast way out of business.
You have a non-resident coming in, they're gonna stop at Dollar General or something.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the point.
We rely on those customers just like any other business does to keep that thing afloat, so.
And then when the pool project started, there was some people in the community that were asking about reduced rates, or maybe even being free, but,
For city.
the bond did not, only covers the construction,
Yes.
not the maintenance
Right.
of the actual facility.
Right. But yeah, we had, the $100 is less than what we had recommended. And so, you know, I just wanted to bring that up, that Brittany had done additional research and.
And we took
had
that
suggested
research to,
The city
the
council.
finance committee, for
Yep.
the initial budget,
Mhm.
and then the full council for the full budget.
Yep. I just wanted that so that.
Sure, you said May 21st is.
I think it's May 20th.
The last day of school.
Last day of school.
And, I've heard from a whole bunch of kids are super stoked to get out of school and go over to the pool. I
Yeah.
cannot tell you how many kids I've heard, they're
I
going.
bet teachers are loving us right now.
Oh, probably. But they're going, I mean, it's Christmas time, and they're already talking about it in the school, but
Yeah.
they're, the pool thralls in town, but, well, and then these are all like first, second graders, third, you know, in
Yeah.
that group, are just
I
like
think
super stoked.
I think that's right. It's
I
either
had one other
20th,
thing and I
21st,
can't remember what it
26th.
was on the pool.
It's the
I think we get out
20th.
on the Wednesday.
Yeah,
The last day is the 20th.
$100 for a family pass, yeah. Cause we had suggested
Yeah, but
maybe
don't they-
125 or something like that, and then it went with the 100.
All right,
I had one more thing on the pool, but I lost it.
lost it, okay. Well, do you have anything for baseball right now?
We'll have that meeting, we'll have some.
And softball,
Registration opens February 1st, right? Closes March 15th.
Yep.
Yeah, so, kind of.
very good, all right, can I get a motion to
Mr. Chairman,
adjourn?
may I have
Oh, nope,
one
sorry.
second, I wanted to mention, just for discussion in between now and the next meeting, I'd like to get some thoughts on time and day of this meeting, for how people feel about having this meeting 7 on Sunday. Are there other days that you would prefer to see it at? So, I know I would, but I'm not on board.
What days would work for you, better for you?
Someone had mentioned, 6 o'clock the day of council meetings, which would, require us to stay to an hour. But that is earlier than, I mean, if you're working in Sioux Falls, it doesn't give you a ton of time to get home.
I work in
change.
Vermillion now.
Okay.
I am not back until like right at 6 o'clock
Right.
or a few minutes
It's
after.
gonna be Monday.
Like during the summers and stuff, it gets
That'd be
difficult.
There's all kinds of stuff going on.
We're coaching. and-
Yeah.
Um,
Let's,
Just wanna put it out there for
Tuesdays.
discussion.
something to think about.
Tuesdays at 7, after, so after the first city council meeting of the month, so if they have theirs on Monday, we could always
That was the next.
follow on Tuesdays at 7.
and
I
the
can't
only,
do
the
that.
only
You
thing
can't
with
do
that
that.
is that,
No.
but that eliminates another night from
Yeah.
coaches having games, I mean, that's,
I think that's why we ended up on a Sunday, is because like, unfortunately, it was one of the only days that everybody was kind of gonna be
Free,
around right
yeah.
before the work week started. At least home from traveling or home from tournaments, or there's not, you know, not a lot of stuff.
Things are kind of light for me right now, but I still couldn't do Monday, Tuesdays, or Thursdays. And then softball season is.
And Wednesday is church night, and nobody wants to come to a meeting on a Friday night at 7
No.
o'clock.
We tried it a little while after church or during, you know, 'cause some were dropping their kids off at church and stuff like that, so. I don't know, I don't like Sunday nights either, but it seems like that's the only time people
Oh, yeah,
can,
that's one.
that's the only time people can meet and. Every Sunday I'm like, oh, you kidding me? You know, and then the next day I'm
I
like,
don't know,
oh,
Vikings won today, so I was fine,
Yeah.
it's been a great
well, if the
day.
Vikings were still playing, I'm sure we'd have people there.
I was like, heck yeah, Vikings still playing, I
I don't wanna get anybody sick.
just can't believe that they won, I was just in awe the rest of the
That was odd.
Our next meeting is supposed to be the Super Bowl.
That's right.
We'll have
January
to
2nd.
adjust that. Not saying the Vikings are gonna
So
be.
that new person might or might be in the next meeting.
You can have it done there if you want.
You have to meet before registration.
I'll probably be here.
No, but
Watch this over
It starts at
definitely
5:30.
kind of initially.
So what if we do the
That's when the
Sunday
commercials should be
before? Would that be the end of this month?
Um,
Would that be the last, so
Third.
we would throw
Second.
two?
So
like,
it's-
23rd?
Nate, it's probably unlikely the specialist will be working by the next meeting.
Oh, maybe the 23rd.
Unlikely but not impossible, so.
Or we could push it forward and do.
He was just talking about meeting, or she said meeting
Sorry.
before the,
I didn't know if there was
I would
any
suggest
reason.
pushing it to the
no,
ninth.
before registration.
Pushing it to the ninth.
Let's go a week back.
Yeah,
For,
yeah, let's go to the ninth.
We still, registration opens on February 1st, right?
yeah,
But I think Brittany was gonna send it out so that everybody could
We
look at it,
tested,
test it
yeah.
before.
The night's fine, probably.
So,
yeah.
Keegan and I'll leave either Thursday or Friday.
Till the night comes around. You're like, oh.
was there anything else, Nate?
No.
Okay, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second that motion.
All right, we're adjourned.
This hasn't been so bad. Of course, there's nothing going on. Our hours with nothing going on, so it takes an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the season, we
I'm
got all
sorry
this
about
stuff going on, all the.
So, oh my God. Well, I was in training. I had 2 weeks of training in here with a new job and everything floated together. It was like, yeah, I'll be there next week. And everyone's like, yeah, the meeting already was. Oh.
You're like,
Oh, that, oh.
Well, I
was it that same meeting? Sean's like, how was the meeting? Yep, you're right there.
Yeah, you're trying to eat my supper.
I left.
Did you offer,
What night's this now?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, just went for a park.
At 7.
He still has to stop in the Friday night.
Yo, you're, we,
They stopped. Every Friday, he's like, you should not practice all now. So we
Yep, go for it.
text all the parents saying,
They're right.
bring your kid if you want. We'll do layups, defense.
So I gave that to him Thursday morning after that.